Hi guys, welcome to the December bullet journal setup. This month's theme is Deutschland, also known as Germany, as voted by you guys in my last video. So come along with me now as we continue on my bullet journey. Okay, so what a tough battle this was between the months starting with D. We had Deutschland, Denmark, and Dominican Republic, and they all got heaps of votes, and it was really, really close between Denmark and Germany. And both of them, I had a strong desire to do them, so I was really winning either way. But in the end, Germany did take the lead with a few extra votes, and so that was the deciding factor in why I'm setting up Germany for my month of December. Now, a lot of you were giving me tips on what you would like to see in the Germany setup, and so many of you mentioned the Christmas markets that Germany is very famous for. So that was my first thought of what I should do for the cover. I personally love Christmas and I wanted to try and include a Christmassy vibe throughout it. So that's when I came up with the idea that this should be our girls' adventure in Germany at Christmas time. So I thought, what better way to introduce a Christmas-themed Germany than the Christmas markets on the cover page. So they also call them Christkindlsmarkt, and so they're all around. There's like over 1,450 Christmas markets across Germany in the month of December, so plenty to go to. And the one I chose to illustrate here is the Dresden Striezelmarkt. It's considered the first genuine Christmas market in the world, and it was founded in 1434. Amazing time to have started that. I can't believe that something has been going so strongly. As an Australian and such a young country, it always amazes me when I can hear things like that. So 1434 is when this started, and it gets over 3 million visitors each year. Now, the most famous market in Germany is the Nuremberg Christkindlsmarkt, started in 1628, which is still a hell of a long time ago. Can't believe they've been running so long, but yeah, this is the most famous one that you probably have heard of, and if not, that one is one of the recommended ones to go to because it's one of the most popular. So the idea of this spread was to create a very Christmassy vibe with my traveling girl attending one of these markets, and she is on the hunt for the Gluhwein mugs. So in each Germany market that you find, it's apparently a tradition to go and find a mug and you drink the Gluhwein, which is mulled wine. I personally have never tried mulled wine. That's on the list for the Christmas season. I must try it. But yeah, so this is a very common thing. I'm guessing in cold countries it must be very, very warming, and yeah, I imagine it would feel very nice to walk around the markets and have a little Gluhwein. So I've drawn her here with a mug of the Gluhwein, and you can buy them at the markets that have different memorabilia on top of them, which I thought was very cute. So yeah, if you went to all 1,450, you could have a lot of Gluhwein mugs. So as you can see, I did use watercolor for the sky background. I've gone for a really sunset feel in the background, and then it's just that moment before all the lights come on, and I just thought that would be a really nice time to go to these markets. It would feel very, very Christmassy seeing all the lights come on. So I've kind of kept that warm vibe throughout the picture. And then on top, for all the foreground, I'm using acrylic paint. It did take me a while, so obviously if you try this in your bullet journals, just be prepared, it will take a little while. But any practice is great practice, I think. So if you've put aside a few hours to spend on your bullet journal setup, then I say why not, because it's only building your skills and it's really, really fun. So I loved working on this page, and so I'm building it up and just adding in pieces of the buildings in the background to try and symbolize that this is the Dresden market. So this building here is an ancient clock tower of the Royal Palace in Dresden. The building itself is this beautiful Gothic building. It's just stunning. So I was able to get a little piece of that in the background of this shot, which I was really happy about. And then obviously the key feature in this image is this gorgeous Christmas tree, this very large Christmas tree popping up out the middle of the market. And something I was surprised with was that Germany actually gives or donates a tree to Windsor Palace in the UK each year as a gift to the Queen of England, which was surprising just because in last month's setup, in the Norway setup, I found out that Trafalgar Square's Christmas tree is donated by Norway. So I thought that was very interesting. So I just want to give you a little bit of insight on how I was feeling at this point in time during the painting. I was a little bit worried that it was starting to look a bit busy and it wasn't quite getting the effect that I was trying to capture through. And something that I felt I just couldn't add was the people. The people are all lots of different colours in my reference photo. They're a lot of different shapes and are just really busy. And I felt that they would take away from my focal point of the girl in the foreground. So what I did was just painted them in like a silhouette in a one single colour across them all, make them kind of appear in the distance. So I did it in this kind of lilac-y, purpley shade. One thing I do wish that I did is maybe make it more of a bluer shade, because I feel like there's not enough contrast between the floor and them. It's just not a nice change there. But I am, however, really happy with the silhouettes, and I just added like a little touch of white highlight onto each individual, making it look like I knew exactly what shape I was doing. But to be honest, I wasn't. I was just doing just kind of a shape of a head and shoulders, and then that was it. So it gave me the effect that I wanted, and so I was really happy with that. And then that painting was finished after adding all the Christmas lights and the festive highlights. And then I stuck it into my journal, and I always love to do a Dutch door on the sides of my cover pages. If you've watched me before, I do this pretty much every month. It acts as kind of like a bookmark to go straight to your month that you're working on. And then I coloured this one in with just a big D in the right hand corner and a diagonal cut, and all in gold. So really happy with how this warm and festive cover page turned out. And then it was time to move on to my calendar page. Now this page, if you've watched me before, is just a very simple basic calendar where I keep special occasions that I need to remember. So rather than putting them through the month on your weekly spreads, I just like to have a little quick reference point here on this front page. I also always like to include the month's flag on this page. So down the bottom right hand corner, I've done a little pull out section that is for where I track my YouTube growth, and using some nice calligraphy for the Monday to Sunday letters of the week and the title of December. I also like to keep a little cleaning reference guide here on this page. I always like to keep track of my cleaning, otherwise I do let it go by the wayside. So I take from my annual cleaning calendar and I transfer the monthly chores onto this little part here, and that's where I can tick it off and make sure it gets done within that month. And then to decorate this spread, I decided to use the Germany national flower here. I normally do the national flower later on in my journal in the mind map page, but you'll see what I do with that a bit later. I felt that the national flower didn't really work on that spread, but it was perfect for here. And there was such a beautiful story that I read about the national flower. So the national flower is the blue cornflower. And there's this lovely story about Queen Louise of Prussia. For years I've been saying the paint color wrong, by the way. It's Prussian blue. I've always been saying Prussian blue. So there you go. I learned something very handy in this setup. The story of Queen Louise was that she was fleeing Napoleon's forces when he invaded Berlin, and she kept her children hidden in a field of these flowers and kept them quiet by weaving the wildflowers into crowns, and told them that they would make them blend into the gardens. And that story gave me goosebumps when I read it, so I thought that was definitely worth giving a focus to on this front page. And then I'm just using my Pigma Micron for all the black outlines of these flowers. And then I thought I would get out my paints again and just throw a little bit of that beautiful blue color on there. And I'm obsessed with this blue. It's so gorgeous, and it really pops with that gold and black. So I'm very happy to use these colors on this spread. As you can see, I decided to throw in some more blue flowers through the spread, making it look like it was a field of the cornflowers, just to further reflect that story. And then this page was complete. Now I'm moving on to the next page, and this is the spread that I usually do a needs and wants page here, but this month, because it is Christmas, there's a lot of sort of Christmassy things that I wanted to achieve throughout the month with my kids and my family, and so I just wanted to do something a little bit different here. So I thought I would create a little advent calendar on this page. And on this advent calendar, I've turned it into my adventures page. So these are going to be little Christmas adventures that I'll fill into every space. I've left 24 little boxes, and I'm going to put something that I can do with my family on that day. You know, I'd always love to go and see the Christmas lights, or we'll do Christmas baking, or watch a Christmas movie, something like that. And I'm going to put that on for each day of the month, and I think my kids will really enjoy this part. And the reason I tied this into Germany as well is because the very first advent calendar with the little doors was actually created in Munich in the early 20th century. So up until then, they would just use the tear-off calendars where you would tear each day in the lead up to Christmas. So you also might be wondering why I have put the Christmas tree drawing upside down. And no, this is not a mistake, and it's not me being creative and weird. It's actually from the Christmas tree tradition that started in Germany. And by the way, the Christmas trees are called Tannenbaums. And then so into the 20th century, they had hung their Christmas trees upright from the ceiling like this. And because they didn't want to take up valuable floor space in their lounge rooms and things. So I found that very unusual. And then when I started looking at photos from, I've never seen a hanging Christmas tree before. So I started looking at pictures of them, and yeah, they're really bizarre to comprehend. Like, it looks like, yeah, the floor is on the ceiling. Very bizarre, but very interesting. So I had to include that somehow. And also I figured, because the activity that I'm going to be doing on December 1 is definitely putting up the Christmas tree. So that is why that's on the number 1 box in that page. And then I was moving on to my meal plan page. Now this one, I always like to include one of the national dishes from the countries that I visit through these setups. Now the national dish for Germany is actually Sauerbraten, which is a roast beef stew. Now I didn't do that as on this drawing, because when I think of Germany, I immediately think of Bratwurst, the grilled sausage. So I actually went out to dinner with my husband for our date night this month, and we went to a German restaurant, and I ate Bratwurst, and it came with some sauerkraut on the side and some mashed potato. It was delicious, and you can't have that and go to a German restaurant without having a giant stein of beer. So this page I decided to theme as basically a little drawing of our exact meal that I had when we went out to dinner. I thought to tie all the pieces on this page together, I would run a piece of ribbon that basically runs through it all in a gingham sort of fabric, which you often see on the dresses that they wear for around Oktoberfest. I will talk more about Oktoberfest in my weekly setups, purely because beer is such a huge part of German culture and they are known for it all around the world. So I'm going to take a little bit more of a deep dive and learn a bit more about beer and the Oktoberfest environment for the weekly setups. So stay tuned for that one. I kept the colours really simple on this spread. I only used 2 colours really, which was the orangey sort of tone and the red. I basically wanted to keep it as simple as possible with the colour because it was already quite a busy spread. And that's this page complete. Okay, so the next page is my Goodliness page, and if you haven't watched me before, this is basically where I do my habit trackers. So when I was researching Germany, I discovered that Germany has over 2,100 castles, which amazes me. As usual, I'm always amazed by these facts of these beautiful countries. But yeah, 2,100 castles, and one of them that I decided to illustrate here on my Goodliness page is the Neuschwanstein castle. This castle was finished building in 1886, and it actually is the castle that inspired Walt Disney to use as his model for the castle in Sleeping Beauty. So I thought that was awesome. I love Disney movies and I love castles, and combine the two together. I was excited to put this in my Goodliness spread. So to draw this castle, I decided to use my Pigma Micron as usual and just do the line art first. And then I wanted to go in with some colour. So after I'd mapped out all of where my castle went, I decided to use some more of the acrylic paint for this page. I started out by using a gold paint. It wasn't quite vivid enough for me, so I started adding green, and then I really just played and played with the colours to try and get something that I was happy with. I wanted a really goldy look to this spread, but I didn't want to forfeit the sort of realistic colours that I like to use. So I added green into it and was happy with this eventually. Just building up the shades in the trees, not trying to do it realistic at all, just tapping them in with my brush and building some contrast within those trees in the foreground there. And now, funnily enough, I'm going in with the Prussian blue for all the turrets on the castle, which on the real Neuschwanstein castle, they're actually more of a grey, but I wanted to symbolise that Disney side of things, and the Sleeping Beauty's castle has the blue turrets, so I wanted to give more of a reference to this being inspiring Walt Disney. And I'm just adding a slightly watered down version of that blue on the left hand side of each of the buildings, just for a bit of dimension, just to add a shadow. I mapped out the road that goes in there, and I'm just trying to use a little amount of water because it can buckle the pages if you use too much. But yeah, just trying to add in some hills in the background to separate it and make it look like it's in a setting. I'm now writing in the Goodliness title, and I've tried to use a font that looks similar to the Sleeping Beauty title as well. It's quite a gothic style font, so it goes really nicely with the castle. And now this month I'm doing something slightly different with the trackers. Normally I'll put it in a one graph and be able to mark off each day just using a little cross on each graph line. But I thought I'd do it differently this month and go for individual actual habit tracker calendars. So what I did is I just created them on Illustrator on my computer and then just printed them out, trimmed them up, and then stuck them onto the page just separately around the sky area. So now that they're all stuck down, I'm just titling each one with my focus habits that I want to really work on, which is always for me drinking water. I'm so bad at it. I really need to just focus on it. So I've even condensed my Goodliness trackers down. I normally have about, 12 or so, but I've cut it down this month to just 6 of them, and hopefully that will mean I can complete and actually cross off every single one. That would be a miracle. But this is a miracle castle. Maybe this is the month. So this spread was almost done. I felt like it was lacking something in the top left corner, so I thought I would add some nice warm pinky tones into it, sort of like a pinky orange, and add in some of the colour that was on the castle as well, which is like a burnt orangey sort of nice rose shade. So I thought I'd reflect that up in the sky as well, and it gives you that real fairy tale feeling, I think, personally, and added in some purple clouds and things like that, and that made me feel like it was very dreamlike and fantasy, just like the Sleeping Beauty. What I didn't show you is that I accidentally squeezed out paint and it hit so many places on my page, so I had to clean those up with a white gel pen. So that's this spread done. Let me know what you think about this one. It's a bit different to my usual kind of trackers, but yeah, I'd love to know what you think. And now we're moving on to my favorite page of the setup, which is the mind map page. I love drawing people, so I always dedicate this mind map spread to a famous person or just someone from the country that I'm working on. And in this case, I decided to do Heidi Klum, but because I am trying to make a Christmas twist on everything throughout the setup, so I thought I would illustrate Heidi Klum as the Christmas angel that they refer to as Christkind. This basically means Christ child, and it is known as the figure of this angel who comes on December 24th to deliver the presents to the children. Christkind is a blonde female, usually very youthful, and has always been depicted with like angelic wings and a gold crown. So I thought that was kind of fitting for Heidi Klum, seeing as she was Germany's first Victoria's Secret angel. So I've tried to illustrate that here Now I'm using my Prismacolor pencils to draw out her face, and then I go in with some textures or markers for the hair, and always my gold pen for the accents. I really wanted this spread to feel very Christmassy and festive, but I didn't want to add too much colour, so I've gone for that gold and white, very angelic feeling. I think Heidi Klum is one of the most stunning women around, and it was very hard to replicate her beauty in this portrait. There's a likeness there, but I think it could be better. I think there's things I could have done better. I'm not sure about the eyes, or maybe there's something in the mouth. There's something not quite right, but I will live on and get better the next time I draw Heidi Klum. So just using a few goldish sort of markers here, just in yellow tones, and trying to add some depth with some of the pencils. It was just looking a bit too flat. But in the past, this is how I've illustrated my mind map pages. I kind of keep some areas as realistic as possible, and the others, I'm quite happy for them to be a bit more graphic. So I wasn't too worried about the hair not looking realistic. I just wanted that big pop of like that goldy yellow that you can see there. And now I'm adding in a nice gold crown, or like a tiara going across her head, almost like a gold wreath. And then adding in this, I found a lot of images of the Christkindl wearing this gold cape almost over her shoulders, and I thought that would look really nice in this page here. So I've added that by just using strokes of gold pen, and it's like a transparent sort of sheath of fabric across her shoulders. So that was nice. And then I'm just using a plate or anything I could find around me. Ended up with the child's IKEA bowl. And I thought I would fill that little sort of halo in the background with some gold washi tape. This washi tape is from the washi tape shop. I always leave links down to the products that I use mostly in my setups, so that will be down in the description box if you were ever after washi tape or anything else that I use. And now I'm just adding in a soft halo effect around her as if she was an angel, and then adding in the words mind map, still using that beautiful gold pen that I can never let go of. And just adding in some cute little more bits of washi tape to just border off that page. And then this page was complete. And now for the final page of the setup. This is my very first weekly spread for the month of December, and I thought I would change this up a little bit this month as well. I usually do like a running task list down the side, but I found myself moving away from using that a bit, so I would double up on what I'm crossing off on my to-do list. So basically, to avoid that double handling, I thought I would just go back to having a space for each day of the week, and then go through and add my to-do lists on those actual days. So basically schedule it in advance for my week. And then I really like time blocking my days out, so I've got space to do that now. And then I can still do my drawing in half a page as well. So I didn't want to lose that side of things, because that's what keeps me going personally. I love to have the drawings on there to call me back to work on those spreads. So this page, I wanted to focus on the fact that Hamburg in Germany actually has the most amount of bridges in the world. It's got over 2,300, which is more than Venice, Amsterdam, and London all combined. And I thought I would try and illustrate some here. Now this drawing that I've done is using a reference from the old warehouse district in Hamburg. It looks really awesome with all these old warehouses, and they've all been restored. But the warehouse district basically is all modernized, but it has a miniature wonderland, museums, it's got old dungeons. It sounds like a great place to visit. So I did all my line art first on this little image, and then went in with a little bit of marker to show the reflections in the water beneath. And then always, I love to add the gold into my weekly spreads. I try and keep them kind of colorless. I just love this really simple black and gold kind of look that I've done on my weeklies for a while now. And I'm just using some lovely gold washi tape to separate the days of the week out. And then that's this spread finished, ready to start planning for Christmas and the first week of December. And now we'll just take a quick flick back through the setup. I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe learnt a little bit about Germany. I sure did. I would love it if you could share this video with at least one person that you think might enjoy it as well. That would mean the world to me. And if you did enjoy it, please click that like button and don't forget to subscribe to join me on the rest of my bullet journey through Germany, where I will set up my weekly pages ready for the rest of December. Thank you for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye.